Hi guys, Aaron here and welcome on the channel, this time not from the workshop. The video I wanted to do today is about time trialing and time trial pacing. Now, based on my physiology, I can say that I really suck at road races, but I'm pretty decent at time trials, managing to win every time trial I've done this year. And I think part of that is because of my pacing strategy and how I go and do these time trials. So also about the equipment, I've talked a lot about that in other videos, so be sure to check those out. Today I'm going to talk about perhaps the most crucial thing, and that's pacing, as I've mentioned. So I'm greeting you here from my Strava account, which by the way is public, and you can see all my ride and training data over here if you so wish. And I want to illustrate really my points in an example. I think this will be the best way to do that. And it's from the last time trial that I've done. I won this year and also last year, and it's a pretty tough one. As a rule of thumb, the flatter and less windy your time trial is, the easier it is to pace. If you have a flat time trial just there and back, then basically all you need to do is keep your average power high both ways and you're done. However, the longer time trial is, the less likely the likelihood is less that it will be this simple. So here we're looking at this example. It's just 24 kilometers, but we're climbing a hill or a mountain basically with an elevation change of almost 600 meters from zero. So this is what makes it pretty tough. So as you can see, the first portion is almost completely flat until we hit the climb itself. And it's here at this point that we really have to acknowledge a thing, that you want to use your power wisely to get as much speed as possible. In time trialing, it's not the person with the highest average power that wins, it's the person with the shortest time and therefore the highest average speed that wins. So you really need to balance and keep in mind that you have to use your power in places where you get the most speed for a given amount of power. And you can do that by applying more power on the places or on the sections when there's some kind of difficulty. So a headwind, a climb, just after a corner when you've lost a lot of speed. These are the sections where you really need to focus on and burn your matches, go over your threshold, of course within reason. And this is where you can actually gain the highest or the most amount of time for giving power. Why is that? It's kind of intuitive as well, but the main reason for that is, well, it just comes down to pretty simple physics. If you add up all the resistances, bear in mind on a bike or any vehicle for that matter, your speed is basically the result of your driving forces or the power you're putting out versus the resistances you're experiencing. So when those resistances are arranged in a certain fashion, you can get more or less speed change for a given power. So that's the main point here. So let's just break this down into a little bit more detail. So right after the start, you can see I'm starting in at basically 660 watts, so this is quite high for me, and you really need that spike. You can't really just set off slowly because you need to get up to speed quickly, and this won't put you in the red because you're using your anaerobic systems and it doesn't really affect the pacing of your time trial. You just really need that I would say 15 to 20 second surge, really hard just to get up to speed. Then as you can see, a slight dip, just to recover from that a little bit. If you ease off the pedals for 5 to 10 seconds, you're not going to lose any major speed here. Of course, if you're on the flat. The nasty thing in this TT is that you can see it here, right after the start, I have a pretty short, I would say it's probably 300 meters or 4 maybe, so roughly a minute, a very steep little section. Now, many people will be tempted to just set the threshold pace and just carry on. This is one of the sections where it's actually a good place, even though it's right after the start, it's a good place to, let's say, burn a match and get your speed up. You can see I'm putting in 6 to 7 watts per kilo on this little climb, which is quite a bit over my threshold, but I save a good couple of seconds by doing that. Then if I'm crested, I've crested the climb already, you can see a slight drop off just below threshold. To recover from that a little bit, even though I don't feel I need it, but by looking at the numbers and knowing what I can do, I just know I have to ease off for a couple of seconds to go like 270 or so, and then it's basically flat all the way. Now you can see that in this section I'm a tiny bit below my average power, and that's for a reason. It is a pretty fast, partly tailwindy section, so I won't really gain too much speed by putting in much more power over here. So I really want to save myself for the climb, because that's where the big gains can be made. So on the day it was very slippery and very muddy on the roads, quite a bit of traffic as well. So you can see these spikes. This one is from overtaking a car that was going slowly. Then coming to the corner, I had to really slow down because it was extremely slippery. You can see it powered down to 0, and then again shorted the spike of 500 watts just to get up to speed again. That's really necessary. You gain a lot of time by not letting yourself just freewheel and roll too slow for a long time. Then again, another piece of recovery here, 275 watts. And then basically it's where the fun starts. So up to this point, this is basically halfway through if you're talking time. Let me just switch it over to time. Yeah, it's a bit different now. So anyway, from this point on, when I'm hitting a climb, I really wanted to focus on holding 300 watts-ish, because I know I can safely do that. I was feeling very well and very fresh. So I just kept this basically for half of the climb. Then we got some corners, really muddy ones. So on the TT bike it was sketchy as hell, so you can see these dips in power. And then, yeah, a couple more at the tight hairpins. I need to ease off. And then this climb is, well, it's basically a ramp. The further you go, the steeper it gets. So that's exactly how I applied my power. For the first part, I kept it around 300, and then I knew I was feeling pretty well. I started doing 320, 330, and yeah, in the steeper bits, that was, except this corner of course, that was very beneficial. Yeah, you can see here I was keeping the power up, increasing a little bit, basically kilometer by kilometer. Every time I hit a kilometer marker, I tried to increase my power a little bit more. And then in the final section, where it's very steep, and I was, well, basically 300 to 400 meters from the finish, I just let it all out and I wouldn't say I sprinted to the line, but I was really into the red now and basically left nothing on the line, nothing on the road. So yeah, this is pretty much, I'm confident enough to say that this is a good example of pacing strategy. If you have just a flat time trial there and back, then of course going hard into the headwind, no matter which direction it is, and then easing off in the tailwind to recover a bit, that will be the best strategy. And with climbs, you can do it just like this. You save a bit for the climbs, because on the flat, on the faster sections, no matter how, or it doesn't matter if you put on more power, you're not getting so much benefit. Okay, so I hope this little breakdown and analysis was helpful. If you'd like to know more about my training and preparation, you can check out my Strava account. And if you want to know more about my equipment, then of course head to the YouTube channel and subscribe over there. It's all for today. Thanks for watching and see you next time.